welcome to Confused Reviews, where Cartoon Drawing reviews movies. And if I'm brutally honest, the Halloween series should have ended right after 2. It concluded Laurie Strode's journey, Haddonfield was officially changed forever and would never again be the quiet little town it once was, and Loomis and Michael Myers were both dead. Yeah, I know in part 4 they both survived, but Michael burned to a crisp and shouldn't have been able to come back. But I digress. Since John Carpenter and Debra Hill were on the same state of thinking I am, they wanted to do something different with a third installment and beyond. Make an anthology series with each subsequent sequel being a different thing that goes wrong on Halloween. And I really wish they would have continued with that idea, because there are so many things that could happen on Halloween. More than just a guy in a white Captain Kirk mask killing teenagers. And this was their first attempt at this concept. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. But critics and audiences alike slaughtered this movie at the time of release. And since then, I haven't heard one single criticism that doesn't almost entirely revolve around the fact that Michael Myers is not in it. So, was this the direction that they should have taken, or should they have kept making the same movie over and over again? This is Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So the film begins with what I can only presume is someone playing Halloween on the Atari 2600. We then see it Saturday the 23rd. I wonder what other key details these subtitles will uncover. We then see a man being chased by a mysterious car, who then manages to grab the old guy and take him to the floor. But in the nick of time, he pulls the tire wedge from underneath the car and crushes Dwight Schrute in between 2 cars. We are then informed by a gas station TV that one of 19 Stonehenge was stolen. I wonder if that will have any significance to the plot. We are also introduced to the most annoyingly catchy song ever.
8 more days to Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. 8 more days to Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
But even God must be annoyed with it because the power goes out. After a while of investigating, a lone gas station attendant is jump-scared by the old man who passes out, clenching one of the Silver Shamrock masks. The attendant takes him off somewhere in his truck, but we see that T-1000 isn't too far behind. We're then introduced to Dr. Daniel Chalice, played by the awesome Tom Adkins, whose kids don't like the Halloween masks he bought them because they already have some. Silver Shamrock masks. We also hear that damn song again. Whoop-de-doo. Dr. Chalice arrives at the hospital to find Walter and the passed-out old guy waiting for him. Walter then gives a heartfelt speech about how you should help anyone out who needs it, but it's cut short by the old guy waking up and freaking them out with that damn song playing on the TV again. The old guy then informs us that
they're going to kill us. All of us.
Who? The critics after this movie comes out? Chalice then takes a nap as Agent Smith puts on some gloves. I know someone else who wore something similar before a killing. He then stabs him in the eyes with his fingers and plays the most deadly game of got your nose and kills the crazy bastard. He then wipes the blood off on the curtains. That's rude. Now someone's gonna have to replace those. Dr. Chalice hears the nurse's screams of terror and runs after the suited man. He follows him outside, but I don't think he'll be around for questioning. Ellie, played by Stacey Nelkin, then arrives to identify the body as her father, and her performance is...
What happened?
shit. We then skip ahead 5 days to see Chalice at a bar watching cartoons. What bar plays fucking cartoons?
Hey, Charlie, can we have another station?
See, even the characters hate it. Ooh, goody, Halloween is on. God damn it. Ellie then returns, unfortunately, and they discuss what happened. They head to her father's shop and discuss how he got into trouble in thorough detail. Dan blows off his wife, and him and Ellie head to Santa Mira. Hopefully there's no invasion of the body snatchers. They arrive to see all the locals creepily staring at them. We then notice the NSA spying on them, and they head to a motel. Good thing this isn't the Bates Motel, or this would be a different movie. We are then introduced to a nice band of characters, including a family consisting of a fat Clark Griswold, Betty, and little Buddy, and some bitchy lady who will die soon. Fun fact, the lady on the loudspeaker announcing curfew is Jamie Lee Curtis.
Curfew. Curfew.
Just to tie this to the first two. Dan is returning to the motel and runs into Starker, who tells him about what's going on. And basically Cochran is the reason the town is dried up and boring. But being that he's Irish, you'd think that it'd be a party town with all kinds of booze at all hours of the day. Starker is then caught by 2 men in suits and they rip his head off. Cool. Ellie then has a brief chat with Marge, who says that the logo fell off the mask. Oh, the horror. A logo fell off a mask. What is the world coming to?
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Exactly. Dan and Ellie start making the sexy time when in the room over, Marge starts fucking with the mask chip and this happens. Why the fuck would you do that in the first place? What were you trying to accomplish moving around the circuits and switches with a bobby pin? Give it candy? She gets picked up by the paramedics, and they happen to look a lot like the men in suits we saw earlier. Very interesting. After 44 minutes, we're finally introduced to Cochran, played by Dan O'Harely, who suspiciously says that she is being brought to the factory instead of a hospital. Right. Dan talks to Teddy about the body from the fire, and she says that there's nothing but wires and car parts. They then go to the factory and ask about her father's recent order, and they're about to leave when the family from earlier invite them to go along on their tour of the factory. Another fun fact, this scene was filmed in Don Post's factory, who was making a line of masks to promote the film. So if by chance you have a Don Post pumpkin, skeleton, or witch mask, there's a chance it was one of these shown here. After a tour of the mask-making process, Dan and Ellie get scared by Cochran's goons and get the hell out of there. Later that night, he tries to call the operator, but Jamie Lee Curtis is having none of that.
I'm sorry, we cannot complete your call as dialed.
Dan returns to find Ellie is nowhere to be found and sees 5 guys in all black outside. No, nothing that cool, just more of Cochran's flunkies. But instead of getting the hell out of Dodge, Dan decides to go back to the factory. Forget Ellie, man, she's probably a robot anyway. Oh wait. Dan then starts yelling at a grandma until her head comes off, and unlike every episode of Scooby-Doo, there isn't a guy underneath, and instead she turns out to be a robot. He then gets into a tussle with the assassin and realizes he's a robot filled with orange juice. Man, that's a weird sentence. But Cochran isn't too far behind, and he says,
Where's Ellie? Mrs. Smith.
Aha, I knew it. They are from the Matrix. Cochran then finally explains his master plan. He's using ancient witchcraft through Stonehenge along with the computer age to use pieces of the stone and placing them into Halloween masks. So when a commercial is played on Halloween night, that triggers the chip to turn children's heads into bugs and snakes, as well as kill their parents with the snakes, returning Halloween to its roots of sacrifice and death.
Right.
Yeah, you might have just overthinked it. Just a tad. And here's what I think is the scariest scene in the movie. Little Buddy watches the commercial and is killed by the mask, and bugs and snakes emerge from his dead body and kill his parents. Gruesome stuff, man. We then see a montage, of course with the Silver Shamrock theme as the background music, of kids all around the country buying and wearing the same 3 masks. I mean, I know it's a movie, but I doubt 1/3 of these kids would have the same mask. Let alone the whole damn country. I mean, skateboarding ballerina jack-o'-lantern, witch fairy, or pirate pumpkin would never happen in any country ever. If I was Cochran, I'd expand and make like 50 different masks, from a mummy to Charlie Sheen. That way every kid with any costume could buy one and have one for Halloween. Man, I'm sadistic. And on a side note, what the hell are they giving out in this big giveaway they've been teasing this whole movie? A lifetime supply of chocolate? You know, Johnny Depp's Willy Wonka is probably the type of guy to conjure up a plan like Cochran's. Teddy is still investigating the remains from the explosion when Agent Smith uses a power drill to kill her. Again, a weird sentence. Again with those damn subtitle. What's next? Then Cochran gives a great speech on the origins of Halloween. He then throws a mask on Dan and leaves. But not after putting Halloween on the TV. But Dan must not like that movie because he then kicks the shit out of the TV. He then throws the mask on the camera. Geez, there's no way he got that in one try, and it changes directions in between shots. Yet another fun fact. The factory used in this film was actually a milk factory. Weird. Dan tries to call for help, but for some reason he calls his bitch wife instead of, oh, I don't know, the police, that nurse, his neighbor, the redheaded stepchild next door, the Walmart 2 blocks over, anything other than this bitch. He then saves Ellie, and they escape with the good old hide behind a cart of masks and past Cochran and all his goons. A classic. He then sneaks into the main computer setup without any of the 20 or 30 guys noticing him, even though this guy clearly looks at him. Dan and Ellie then throw a box of mask chips below, causing all the agents to short circuit and die, also causing more orange juice to spill than the Tropicana factory massacre of '76. We must never forget. The Stonehenge then lights up and the computers form the ring logo, and Cochran is turned into a white statue and disappears. Because witchcraft. The factory then goes up in flames and Dan and Ellie escape. But just when you think this movie is out of twists, Ellie grabs Dan's face and crashes the car. Also, Ellie is a robot. Well, kind of. I assume she was killed and replaced with a robot when she was captured, but being that she delivered all of her dialogue like this,
What happened?
I'm going to say that she was a robot the whole time. He then backhands that bitch and her head comes off. But then the thing from the Addams family grabs Dan, and he throws it off about as quick as he grabbed him. Whatever. Dan then runs to the nearest gas station, which just so happens to be the one from the opening scene. He then calls the person who has control of every TV broadcast in the country, and hold on, who the hell trick-or-treats at a gas station? Actually, the better question is, what gas station gives out candy on Halloween? He then panics because the third channel is still broadcasting the commercial. Get it? Third channel? Because it's the third movie? Ha! So clever! He continues to scream,
Stop it! Stop it! Stop it!
until the credits roll. Another homage to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, with the "You're Next" ending.
They're after all of us! Our wives, our children, everyone! They're here already! You're next!
And that was Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, and calling this movie underrated is an understatement. It has great acting, or almost great effects, unsettling suspense, a great villain, great concept, awesome visual effects, and had an amazing score. I mean, even though the Silver Shamrock song is annoyingly catchy, it's still cute and clever. It's honestly sad that this film gets such a bad rep, because it's great. It's plagued by the fact that it's called Halloween 3. If it was just called Season of the Witch, I bet it'd be called a horror classic. But because it doesn't have Michael Myers in it, and it's called Halloween 3, it's quickly dismissed. So if you were someone that was told it's bad or still holds a grudge, I'd say give it a watch with fresh eyes, because I'd bet you'd love it. I wish they would have continued with this route, but it will forever be known as the bastard sequel with those masks in it. I'm going to give Halloween 3 Season of the Witch an A-. The only thing I can find wrong with this movie is Ellie's performance and the fact that the witchcraft is all in the tag, so it could be easily removed. But please give this movie a watch, and if you enjoy it, tell a friend about it, because maybe one day it'll be known as a good sequel, and not known as the bad one. I'm Confused Reviews. Thanks for watching.